Digital entrepreneurs, listen up. Welcome to the e-commerce edge with Phil Dubois, where we explore the cutting edge of e-commerce strategies to help you scale your online business.
Hi there. Welcome to AdAmplify's e-commerce edge. Today, my partner Kevin and I are talking to Buddy Abrahams as we explore how beauty brands are adjusting to today's retail conditions. For the past 20 years plus, Buddy has worked with top beauty brands worldwide, providing advice and guidance on brand marketing, content strategy, product marketing, social media marketing, pricing strategy. Did I miss anything, Buddy?
It's perfect. Kevin, thank you so much for that. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to be here because our industry is changing so much and things are moving so quickly, especially with AI. So I'm excited to chat about and bring some newness to the category itself.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to the conversation. But Buddy, you've worked with beauty businesses from the US to Dubai. I can't help but think there must be some significant differences based on country and culture. Is that the case?
Yeah, so Phil, I've worked with different brands across the globe actually. So I've worked with Estee Lauder group of companies, I've worked with LVMH, I've worked with Puig Group, which is based in Barcelona. I've worked with L'Oreal in different capacities. And the most recent one was when I was based in the Middle East. And that gave me a really good understanding in terms of culture, but also in terms of from an expat point of view, because 90% of clients in the Middle East are expats. There's only about 10 to 20% that are actually local, like we're locals. And it gave me a really good understanding in terms of dynamics of the different categories within beauty. I'll give you an example. So for instance, the fragrance category in beauty in the Middle East is far larger than the rest of the world, purely because fragrance is part of a culture. Consumers shop a 100 ml versus a 30 ml, where in Europe they shop 30 ml or 50 ml. In Middle East, they shop 100 ml. They use fragrances from home fragrances to fragrances in their car to larger volume and size. So the volume is much bigger. Where in the US, the fragrance category is not as big, but the skincare category as well as the makeup category is much larger in the US versus fragrances. So the dynamics are completely different. Consumers are different in terms of the way they shop. The behavioral difference are different in terms of they shop, whether it be an online or whether it be in a store environment. But it's fascinating, this business, the beauty business.
Okay, well, that's really insightful and interesting. And Kevin, you've been looking at market shifts in the last while in the beauty space. You want to dive in?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind asking, Buddy. I mean, unlike the pure play e-commerce business to consumer sites, B2C sites, most luxury brands not only have an online store, but also sell through retail and large online platforms like Amazon. So how important today is their online store, and what challenges do you think they're facing managing these channels?
I think the biggest challenge is the fact that a lot of brands, when they launch, they have to launch with a DTC site, and that creates brand awareness. That gives an expression of what the brand feels like, look like for the consumer. It gives an expression in terms of from an educational point of view for the consumer to really understand the brand and explain the brand much better, but also gives the consumer a really good understanding in terms of when it comes to ingredients and how to showcase that brand on a platform which is their own D2C. The difference between a D2C and an Amazon or another marketplace platform is the fact that a lot of marketplace platforms drive price significantly versus storytelling. D2C is more about storytelling. It's more about in terms of what the brand wants to be able to achieve, but also it gives you more understanding in terms of look and feel of the brand. So brand building is extremely important on D2C, where marketplace price is extremely important, extremely competitive. So a consumer that already knows the product, buys the product, understands ingredients in the product, would go and shop in a marketplace because they want to be able to get a much better price point when they shop it. At the same time, as well as a lot of D2C brands are now trying to combat and be able to challenge some of the pricing on marketplace sites as well.
Right.
But there's a big shift in terms of consumer loyalty when it comes to D2C. The biggest objective is number one, to make sure that we keep that consumer from a loyalty point of view. So engagement is extremely important in terms of making sure that consumer, in terms of recruitment, to D2C is extremely important as well, because remember the whole platform belongs to the brand. So it's a much more an environment where they don't have to give away margin to sell their product. So the entire full margin comes to D2C for the brand platform, where they sell another platform. they have to give away margin. So they don't get a full margin at all whatsoever. Although they need to be in those platforms because competition is there. They need to be in that platform because of price. And a lot of consumers shop on those marketplace platforms.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of recruitment and loyal and then how to be able to make sure that consumer stays with them, DTC is extremely important to be able to do that.
So and I can see how for this industry, how important it is to understand the brand and go to the brand site. And so then I was going to ask you, well, how do these different channels complement each other? Because if it's just price if it's more transactional, once they understand the brand, that must be a struggle for some of these brands. But as you just said, they need to be where the competition is. And so that's why they're in the retail or the Amazon stores.
But also there's different ways to do it, Kevin, in terms of the PDP pages on the brand side is much more interactive. It gives you much more understanding in terms of ingredients, so it will show befores and afters. It will show you in terms of videos, in terms of the usage of the product, how to use the product, the benefits of the product, the research that's been done. Where if you go to a marketplace, it doesn't have that detail in depth because that consumer just wants to click and buy the product. So the shopping experience is different in terms of a marketplace. It's more in terms of price plays a big role. Then step number 2 would be, okay, once I have the price, let me look at the size. After that, let me look at the ingredients and let me look at see if the product is actually legit or not. And let me see if that product is actually... So that's where it weighs. Where in a D2C, first priority is, let me understand in terms of how does this product work from a consumer point of view? What are the benefits of the product? How to use the product? How often you use the product? And now what is my need? My need is to be able to fill a solution. Now that I have that solution, what is my price? So then the price comes in. Rather than, so D2C is more solution driven, where the marketplace is more in terms of a need to have. Buy it quickly because I know it, and let me get to that. Let me shop it that way.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So how has this changed over the past 3 or 4 years, and where do you see it? Do you see it going in the next 3-4 years?
How the change has come about is that AI is starting to play a really big role within the beauty space. Consumers are using AI platforms to shop now. So if your PDP pages are not to the level of search optimization when it comes to AI, when it comes to different wording, the way AI is using it, you are going to lose out. The days of using Google as a search optimization, the days of using different other platforms, that's gone completely, to be honest with you. Because AI makes it so much easier for the consumer, and they will pull up different options to that consumer and say, okay, brand number 1 versus brand number 2 versus brand number 3 versus brand number 4, based on word search, based on price, based on efficacy of the product, where if a brand is not up to date with regards to the language they use in an AI platform, it's gonna leave them behind, because AI is going to do the job of searching for that consumer in terms of what are their needs, and it's going to do it in such an effective way where it will give you different options from different brands, not just the first option.
Right. I mean, if brand loyalty is getting tougher these days, and there's increased competition, customer acquisition costs are pretty high and growing. And then you've got customer lifetime value, because that's how you recoup the cost you spend investing in acquiring those first customers. Are you seeing customer lifetime value from the brands you're working with kind of going up, going down, or flat?
The biggest challenge is the fact that once you have that customer, you need to make sure you keep that customer engaged. Brands are finding it difficult how to keep that customer engaged, whether it be using newsletters, whether it be using newness in terms of product newness, whether it be using in terms of loyalty programs and loyalty cards to be able to get consumers to get points for what they shop and what the product that they use, depending on using bundles. So there's different ways to be able to make sure that consumer stays with them. The brand just needs to be much more interactive, but also much more in terms of giving that consumer some value for their money. There's also a level of gratitude. So for instance, if that consumer has been with you for 20, 15 years, what do you give that consumer to make sure there's a level of value, whether it be a special opportunity where that consumer can be able to get a bundle, whether it be an opportunity to be able to do a co-branding with another brand and bringing that consumer a little bit more value to what they have, whether it be loyalty in terms of a loyalty program, where that consumer able to use their loyalty program and give that consumer an experience. Experience has become much more effective and much more a way of consumer loyalty, where it's not just price and product value, but experience.
Personalization.
And personalization to what they're looking for would help much more to keep that consumer engaged and loyal to the brand.
So let me reverse that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And I think for me, brands are starting to realize that, to be able to give that consumer much more an experience. And that's when they do a partnership where they'd be with let's say a car. I know there's a brand called Elemis in the UK. It's just done a partnership with Maserati, and to showcase luxury, but also to show that consumer in terms of, if you purchase Elemis, you are part of this luxury group.
Right.
You are part of this environment. So it gives a level of inspiration to consumers when they buy the product, and not just buy the product because of the name, but also there's a level of experience and you feel part of a club that has luxury that's available. So there's different ways to do that. Or even a consumer purchasing a skincare brand and having experience in a spa environment and saying, fine, let me experience the product in a spa environment.
Freeze there.
Sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
See if Buddy comes back.
Kevin, are you there?
Yeah, we're there. You just froze on the last bit there.
You froze there.
So in terms of a skincare product, so if a customer buys a skincare product, a great experience would be in a spa environment where the consumer can be able to experience the product in a spa environment. And it uplifts from a brand value point of view, an experience for that consumer. Brand awareness gets much more uplifted as well in terms of from a luxury point of view. So there's different ways to do that.
So let me ask the question a little differently then. What are some common mistakes you see brands making when they try to kind of fix the loyalty and improve it?
First thing they do is price. It doesn't have to be price.
Right.
It doesn't have to be price at all. It can be going through different ways to be able to have an experience instead of price. Price could be your last option. But if a customer is loyal to the brand, there's a level of already understanding the brand, the needs. That need is already there. To keep that customer engaged, let them have an experience.
We lost him again.
Have I lost you? Are you there?
Just the last sentence.
I say, so instead of having a consumer at a level of price doesn't have to be the factor of deciding of purchasing. It could be an experience. It could be loyalty, a level of gratitude back to the customer. Whether it be through an experience of a co-branding opportunity, whether it be an experience of a gift that is a significant value for loyalty in terms of points that they've generated. But there's different ways to do it and not just price.
Yeah. We talk about that often at our company, just in terms of cohorts. We use that term. And, I think just listening to you, looking at cohorts of people that have been with you for only a couple of years or a year or 6 months, and some that have been there for 20 years, you want to personalize that messaging, however that messaging is communicated. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, and I think with personalization, that really starts to kick in with those second and third purchases. So just talk about personalization, but also in the context of the impact that generative AI is having and the move of those platforms into the shopping space.
For me, it's all having a bit of a futuristic approach, because AI is moving so quickly within the beauty space. It's just not skincare, it's not just makeup and fragrances, but having an experience to be able. Consumers are getting much more advanced when it comes to branding, when it comes to understanding product development and product was needed. So, and AI is helping them to get there. So a lot of brands need to look at trends within the wellness space. When I say wellness space, I'm talking about looking at wellness and beauty as a holistic approach. So moving into wellness and saying, fine, I'm now taking care of my skin, but what am I putting inside of myself with regards to making sure I get the outer balance as well?
Right.
And that is whether it be digestibles when it comes to wellness, or when it comes to an experience with regards to taking care of yourself, whether it be laser treatment, whether it be injectables. Those are all part of the wellness space where I see beauty is meeting each other now within that wellness space. And I think AI is going to be able to close that gap, to be honest with you, for that consumer to be able to say, okay, fine, when I have an injectable, what are the products that I use to make sure I get that after service, and to make sure I'm able to close that gap and really get that effectiveness of that injectable that I've used. What product do I have that can support that, number one?
Right.
Number two, befores and afters are going to start playing a much more key role, and not just we are a clean brand, but yes, you can be a clean brand, but what are the science behind that to make sure it physically works? And what research have you done from a consumer point of view to be able to make sure it's worked? And AI is going to help us to close that gap as well. And number three would be digestibles. Okay, I've now used on my outer skin but what can I take to take care of myself internally, whether it be digestibles through gummies, whether it be digestibles when it comes to wellness, and that would be also what ingredients am I putting in my food? What's my diet? So I think AI is going to close all those gaps, because I've often seen consumers shopping in a supermarket are reading the label on the ingredients. People are much more aware of what are they putting in terms of ingredients. And I think AI is going to be able to help that as well and say, okay, if there's an ingredient on that product that doesn't make sense, AI is going to pick it up and say, okay, explain to me, what does this ingredient mean? What are the benefits of this ingredient? So it's going to get to that level where the AI is going to be able to explain in much more depth to consumers in terms of ingredients, whether it be a skincare product, whether it be a product that is purchased in a supermarket from a food item. It's going to get to that level, and AI is going to close all those.
Yeah, in a digestible format, pun intended. Yeah. So what would be one underrated growth lever you think beauty brands should be using more often? I mean, there's been kind of a thread in this conversation, but I'd like to hear what you would say.
Probably having something where that consumer would be able to relate to, bringing something that's more relatable for that consumer within the AI space. When I say relatable is do a comparison. Consumers would love comparisons in terms of what are the different comparisons within one product versus another product, whether it be from a scientific point of view, whether it be from, okay, it physically works from the first application. I think comparison is going to be really key going forward in that space from a product point of view. And also ingredients. What are the benefits of the ingredients that's in the product? And how does it physically work for that consumer? And then maybe another stage should be personalization. It's going to get to that level where AI is going to be able to personalize your cosmetic routine or your wellness routine to be able to say, fine, I am now using this skincare product. What is it going to look like on a before and after picture on myself if I use this product? Or there's already brands that's using the fact that, okay, if I use this lipstick, what does it look like with me now already? And what's that shade going to look like on my skin tone? So it's gonna have an impact on skin tone, impact in terms of look and feel. So consumers are going to move to that level where it's going to be much more advanced in terms of, okay, not just looking at the mirror, but be able to understand exactly what that look and feel feels like before they purchase that product. And I think it's going to get to that level.
Yeah. So, I mean, so we've talked about personalization. We've talked about the ingredients and talking about the health side of beauty brands and how the two areas, wellness and health or beauty, will kind of intersect. Do you think these beauty brands are adapting fast enough to an online kind of first customer journey?
Some yes, some no.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. In
terms of size as well.
You still have the size of brand that is not investing into AI at all. That's still going as if the consumers still go the same as your DTC on a day-to-day basis. But you do have the brands that are into development that wants to really understand their consumer, wants to be much more close to the consumer. And I think AI is going to help and close that to them. So there's a few brands already that started the projects in terms of personalization to be much closer to the consumers.
Well, in terms of personalization and really understanding your cohorts of customers and their behavior, what can smaller brands learn today from what the bigger brands have implemented and been successful at?
I think understanding the consumer journey is key in terms of where that consumer is coming from when they consumer shop. Number one. Number two, how much time that consumer spends on that platform, and what are the sources they use to be able to get to that platform is key as well. Ingredients is key on that platform in terms of really understanding regarding what type of ingredients are in the product is key as well in terms of, because consumers wants to know what are they putting on their face, what's in the product. That's really key. And just to be close to that consumer on a daily basis, to be able to communicate with that consumer, whether it be through email, whether it be through text messages, whether it be through standing the level of reviews, what are the detail they have on their reviews, what are the consumer behavior when they put through a review, what are they thankful for, what do they tell you what's working and what's not working. To take all those things are important, especially when it comes to reviews as well.
So some of the brands you're working with do some of them just have exclusively an online store and only sell through the online store?
Some of the brands I work has got an exclusive online store, but some of the brands are with brick and mortar and with different retail partners.
Right.
With a Sephora or an Ulta. Some of the brands are internationally as well that I work with.
So does your advice change when the brand only has an online store, or is it?
For me, the consumer behavior is very similar to a brick and mortar or a retailer's D2C, because the difference between a retailer D2C and an online D2C of the brand is that the consumer only sees your brand on your own D2C, where on a retailer D2C, the consumer's got much more choice.
Yeah.
So your wording with that you're trying to get the attention of the consumer has to be much more quicker, has to be much more interactive. The wording that you use has to be much more catchphrase to be able to get the consumer and to be able to buy that product.
Right.
The look and feel of the product on the D2C, on the retailer's D2C in terms of PDP pages, the videos has to be much more interactive.
Yeah.
It has to be a video that consumers can understand, relate to. There has to be a lot on the befores and afters to show consumer in terms of what does it look like before and after. So you have to be much more sharper.
Yeah.
Because your competition is much tougher.
Yeah, good points. Yeah, really good points. What's one thing you'd stop doing immediately if you were running a beauty brand today?
The first thing I'll do is really understand my consumer and understand who's the consumer that I want to work with, but also really understand how do I close the gap between search optimization on AI versus what's available today in the market, and what are the best ways to reach that consumer via AI. So for me, that would be the first thing I would do. The second thing is
Yeah. You made a point earlier that we were talking about. I'm planning a trip right now, looking up hotels, and I'm using AI throughout the whole search process. And it would identify 2 or 3 hotels, but I'm not ready to go to hotels.com yet. I want to go see that brand's hotel, get comfortable with it, look at the about, see, make sure it's the right feel for me. And I think that just relates 100% to what you just said earlier today. If you only had budget to invest in one growth channel for the next year, what would that growth channel be? You had a limited budget.
AI.
Yeah, I could say that. Yeah.
I'm serious,
I
100%.
agree.
AI.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
Forget the rest.
Yeah, no, I think we've learned a lot today, but just quick fire before we go, buddy. Is there one brand, maybe not a fair question, but is there one brand you really admire in terms of what they're doing on the e-commerce side? And what, in terms of what they're doing, are lessons that some of the smaller brands can benefit from?
I've been watching a brand which is part of the digestible business. It's a brand called Array. They've done some really good work in terms of, number one, communication with consumers. They've also done some really good work in terms of their subscription base that they have online. They're often a subscription base, which is really smart the way they've done it. But just in terms of their communication, their look and feel of the product is absolutely fascinating. I think it's a brand that's done a really good job, to be honest with you, on their D2C sites.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, really thank you for joining us. Covered a bunch of ground here, and I know our audience will get a lot from it. For listeners who want to connect with you, where's the best place to find you?
Best place to find me would be at Buddy Abrams. So it's buddy@buddyabrams.com LLC or buddy@buddyabrams.com. That's the best place to find me, and an email address. Reach out to me. I love the beauty space. I often work with brands where I just give them advice in terms of a go-to-market strategy, whether it be domestic or internationally. I work with different partners across the globe, and the team that I have is absolutely amazing and phenomenal. So excited to see if they want to reach out. No problem at all whatsoever.
Excellent.
Okay, again, thanks so much for this, and I hope we can catch up again in the future and dive into a few more of these areas. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, buddy.
Phil. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Okay.